and welcome to another episode of Art Show. I am your host, Aygül Balcıoğlu. Here we are in Union Square at McNeil Cemetery. This building used to be a copper factory. It is then converted to artists and musicians' studios. Today, we are going to meet Warren Croce, who does his work in here. Let's go in.
So I'm on this leaf kick right now, being the autumn or the end of the autumn, and so I started with a leaf, and I have some leaves on the wall, and so yesterday I kind of put a base coat down here, and I'm going to show you guys. We'll do a leaf. We'll do a maple leaf.
Wonderful.
Yeah. So we'll start with the base coat, and then I'll just start adding to it. So it's really quick for me. I don't use small brushes usually because they're too fine, and I'm messy, and I like to be messy, so I like to use large brushes. I always paint on board, probably for the last 8 years or so.
Yeah, okay.
Just because I'm too lazy to stretch canvases.
Okay, you like board better.
And I get them cut to whatever size I want, and you know. And they get they're heavier than canvas, you know, to hang on the wall and stuff. But I don't know, I like working with them. And so now I start kind of, I like to add lines. Lines are really important to me.
Oh, okay.
So I get a workout while I do this too.
Is there a technical term for it, or it is?
No, I don't know.
You are just doing whatever feels.
If there is, I don't know what it is. Yeah. And then even, so that's with an eraser, just a regular pink pearl. But then I like to scratch too. It's really just, it's like building up texture, you know, over the coarse layers.
Okay. So this is still background. I don't feel like you are looking at the leaf or
No.
try to.
No, I'm not really concerned with the
represent that.
other than kind of getting a reasonable representation of the color. Not too much of the shape yet, but if you look at a leaf, right, they've got a lot of lines in them,
right,
and cracks and veins, and so I want to get some of that. So that's I am thinking about it, but not about the shape right now.
Okay.
That'll come later.
But you don't know how these lines are going to play out when the leaf comes out yet.
No, that's kind of the fun part of it, you know.
You're having fun.
I am having fun. And then I'm going to add I think I'm going to add a little yellow at this point. So I'm not taking too much care with that, just getting some different color in there and going back over it. And then what we'll do in a few minutes is kind of let this dry a bit. And at this point, it's kind of a matter of, if I started rubbing right now, it would just become smooth again. Okay. So it's at a point now where I got to let it dry a little bit, but not too much where it just set in stone. Okay. So if I let it dry a little bit, then if I rub this, then you start to get a nice texture on it.
Texture to it. Okay,
yeah.
So you need to wait a little.
We'll wait a little bit, yeah, but we'll wait just a couple of minutes. In the meantime, I'll probably still make some lines. So I have these as reference, and I'm not gonna try to render them perfectly. I want it to be a little bit more stylized. My lines are going to be a little bit more kind of curvy, probably. Yeah.
So let's start.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm going to do a rough outline. Just kind of know where my tips are, and I know kind of that I want my leaf to end. See, part of what I love about the leaves is the stems. That's such a beautiful part of the leaf that I want my leaf to actually end probably around here, and I'm going to follow that line that I made earlier to be the stem.
Why is there though? Because you like the
because
color
I love
there? Long stem.
I love the long stem, and I think it looks nice when it's just by itself in the white.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm going to end it probably up in there, that area. All right, so
Beautiful.
we're probably getting close. I'm going to make a few more marks on it, but we're getting close to the point of doing the white. So there's also, if you look at the maple leaf, there's these three distinct
Lines, right?
the veins, right? So that's part of the beauty of it, and I want to make sure that I do something to honor that.
What do we do now, Laura?
So now is close to the point where I would start putting the white background in.
Okay.
It's similar to, so this is what I did with this one here. You know, in the end, this area, like you were saying before, is going to end up being the background. It's the negative space. And so you'll see that, you know, you can see the background come through, and that's intentional. Yeah. I didn't want it to just be a pure white. I could keep going on with the white and make it pure white, but I kind of like seeing some of the color through the back. And then you really start to define the shape a lot more. Like right now, there's a lot of scribble in there, right? But in the end, I think, you know, you'll be following, you know, I didn't follow the line exactly.
No.
You know, it's like here, I just decided to go in with outside of it.
Right.
But you start to make the nice curvy shapes, and it'll look stylistically a little bit more like this one does.
Laura, why don't you tell me about your most recent work?
Sure. So this year I've done a lot of paintings this year since I've had this studio since February, and I think I'm up to about 20 paintings. But one of the first things I did was kind of revisit my CEO series, which started back in 2007. And some of those actually appeared in the Belmont Gallery show in 2008, I believe. So it's kind of sad that I'm still kind of like that. We have the same issue. Basically, it came about because of corporate greed and the fact that the country is kind of a plutocracy and not a democracy anymore. And you know, it's kind of sad that I'm kind of still on the theme that we still have this issue that I feel compelled to paint it again.
But it's interesting that it was before the financial crisis hit the American household.
Yeah, I was, boy,
idea?
I tell you, I don't know.
You were ahead of the crowd
yeah,
there.
soothsayer. But they changed a lot, basically. You'll notice the ones that were done 5 years ago were actually quite a different style. And since then, I've done a series on Facebook called The Facebook, which has all these very quick face drawings. Like really quick line drawings, kind of funny faces. Some are very serious, some are kind of goofy. But these guys took on that look when I started these back in the spring. They took on that look a lot more. Okay. So kind of just very serious, sort of very bold outlines.
So this is the expressions of the faces.
Yeah, they're not happy guys. They're not. None of them are smiling. You know.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and what I did this year too that was different is I started putting lyrics on top. I started writing on top, so you'll see the writing. This is a song by Aloe Black, and it's just a part of one of his songs. And I was like, wow, that just felt like it really worked. But some have Bob Dylan lyrics, some have Woody Guthrie lyrics, and you know, at some point these guys will sue me. But yeah, and this one, the One Nation Under Greed, that was from the Occupy movement. That they had signs, One Nation Under Greed, and I thought that was great, and that was perfect for writing on top.
I also noticed that you have more than one images, whatever the theme.
I do like to do like 3 or more. Yeah, this is actually a lot. 7 in this series is a lot, but usually 3 kind of is nice. I have a series of golfers. I did 3 and some sharks. The great black shark and the black golfer. I'll probably end up doing 3 leaves. I don't know. It just kind of gives me a chance to explore it a little bit.
What about the paintings over here?
So these are 3 other series I did this year. I mentioned the black golfer. I did a series of 3 of these. It was probably April or May, and I'm a golfer myself. I love golf, and this guy's kind of nice because he's a little bit docile, even though he still looks a little bit kind of scary. Compared to this one, this guy's kind of angry. You know.
Oh, I can see the teeth.
Yeah. I love just sort of what I like about this one is sort of the marks in the background. I mean, this was sort of you know, the background was this.
Yes, okay.
And then sort of the black came in around it, much like the white goes in around the leaf, you know. So the background was just a bunch of color, right? And then I start making the face after that. And then finally I did sharks, and don't ask me like, oh, you know what it was? Why did I do sharks? It was during the late summer and the shark scare on Cape Cod, and these are the great black sharks. And so I initially started with this one, and I was painting them like that. I was painting them horizontally. Okay, and then I had to do something where I had to flip it so I could kind of get a better angle, and I looked, I was like, oh, he's dead, that's perfect.
Warren, tell me, how did you start in your art?
I started by drawing when I was a little kid, probably like, you know, most artists do. My parents were creative people. They had a theater in Woodstock, New York, when I was very young. And my mom did some painting. That's one of her paintings behind me. And then my dad did a puppetry theater after the regular theater folded. He and a partner had started a puppetry theater, and his partner was a really big influence on me too, in terms of his style. He was like, drew a lot of cartoons all the time, and I was, you know, 7, 8, 9 years old, and sort of tried to copy that. And so that was probably the beginning.
And you liked it, and you wanted to do that.
Yeah, and I always wanted to be a cartoonist. I always loved Bugs Bunny, and I just thought that was to draw cartoons for a living would be the greatest thing in the world.
What is your training in art, Warren?
I went to Pratt, which is an art school in Brooklyn. I studied graphic design. That's what I graduated with a degree in graphic design. My mom said, if you're going to art school, you got to study something that's going to make you some money when you get out. So for better or worse, I still got a good grounding in fine arts at Pratt, because you take like 2 years out of your 4 years is heavy duty fine art. And but I graduated with a degree in graphic design, and then kind of worked in the web and became a web designer. And
how long have you had this studio?
So I've had it since February and done about 22 paintings in that time.
So tell me then, before you have the studio here, how were you creating your art? Where were you?
Yeah, I was in my attic.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and it was cramped, and it definitely was not as, you know, kind of wide open as this space. This is like 225, 250 square feet, which is, I find, really nice.
Very nice.
Yeah, so I wasn't painting as much then at all.
How are you planning to promote yourself then? Let me ask you that.
I mean, I was reading just the other day that Roy Lichtenstein spent 80% of his time marketing and 20% of his time painting, and I think that's kind of what it is really what it takes. So, I mean, website's really important, right? You have to have a really good portfolio site. And one thing I've done, so I've got my own portfolio site, but I've also built a service for other artists, photographers, cake decorators, jewelers, to build portfolio sites for them as well, and then give them the ability to edit it themselves afterwards. So it's called Portfolio Spring.
So what is your next project? Painting project? Are you thinking about it?
You know, it's funny because it's the same thing with the web design work, and I guess maybe most creative endeavors. Like, even if you're not physically at your desk, at your computer, at the canvas doing it, I think you're still thinking about it, and I think that's the way it happens. Like, I had mentioned before, when I was doing the leaves, that was going to be a wolf, and then I was kind of looking that day, and I was like, wow, autumn was in full bloom, and it was boom. Like, I already had sort of this orange background, and so, you know, then I said, all right, I'm going to try doing a leaf. I'd never done a leaf before. It's kind of a little bit of a goofy subject, but, you know, it's kind of fun, too. It's because I like the shape, and the colors are cool. So, and then you kind of think about it, right? You go home that night, and you're kind of thinking about it in the back of your head, even though you're subconsciously. You know, so I couldn't tell you what I'm going to paint next. I don't know.
You don't know?
No.
Okay, so we'll just have to wait to see what the next theme is going to be, and we'll come to visit you here.
Yeah, absolutely. You're always welcome back.
Thank you. Warren has moved his studio to Belmont, near his home. You can now easily visit him at 10 Trapelo Road. This has been the Art Show. I am your host, Aygül Balcıoğlu. See you next time.